fucking bone to pick with Dairy Queen. Because why are y'all advertising the confetti dip cone everywhere and not every location has a confetti dip cone? Don't piss me off. I have a story for you guys, but first I'm going to do, well, you know what? Let me actually just tell the story and do my makeup at the same time. I'm going to do a little everyday makeup look / tea time. I did this yesterday and actually none of this sound recorded. So that was distressing. And then I tried to come in here for peace and quiet and the dogs kicked the door in, so. Okay, I'm actually not going to use anything that's in here. I'm just going to use like, it'll be like the no makeup look, as they say. Go sit down somewhere. Ugh, itchy back. Itchy back. And I'm not gonna put on any like primer or anything. Okay, let me just say this. The key to good makeup is good skincare. Okay, so let's make sure our skin is good and hydrated. So imagine this. This is the Revlon color Stay Skin Awaken. Has caffeine and vitamin C. I really love it. This color matches me well. This doesn't look great. So imagine you are working somewhere and you are on just like a little break for a week and you come back. I just put this right under, and then before you do anything, you're gonna let it dry down, okay? You come back for a week, and I mean, you come back after you've been gone for a week. You get online, and you're like, somebody tells you, hey, there's a meeting with HR, I need you to get on it. And you're like, okay. I saw it, first of all, like, I'm coming. If you give me a minute. But you're like, okay. But literally right whenever you got on, you see all these emails that's like, oh, contact number has been changed, password has been changed, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that's weird. So you get on the thing and they're like, thanks for joining. And both HR people are there and you're like, so the person who is over you is like, so basically, here's the rundown. You have been warned before not to say negative things about the organization on LinkedIn. Now, mind you, the negative things that were said about you, okay, that you said allegedly, okay, to dry down a little bit, so now you can kind of go in there with a little concealer brush and blend it out. The negative things that you allegedly said were that you had like an interview or some issue that you had with interviews. And somebody who is a higher up, who's supposed to, you know, they have a doctorate and they only like to be addressed as doctor, whatever. This person saw it and felt some type of way, like it's illegal to look for another job. So they were pissed about it and went say, oh, blah, blah, blah is looking for another job, blah, blah, blah. I was mad about it. Basically just being messy. When it literally had nothing to do with that person. You never said, hey, I'm about to up and leave. They were acting like you were going to leave them high and dry. And actually, I mean, of course you're applying to jobs because you should always still be applying to jobs. even if you like your job, because something like this can happen. You can get fucked over completely. They don't care if your bills are paid, if you're like 2 weeks away from being homeless or whatever. At the end of the day, the job is going to put themselves first and not you. So that's why you should always put yourself first. So they bring this up to you and you're like, okay, well, can you provide to me the written warning, or the warning that you so say gave me? Because they never really gave you a formal warning. It was just kind of your manager being like, hey, this person's looking at your LinkedIn, like, so just maybe not say, oh, I'm interviewing for something, because you don't want them to be messy as they are. Which is crazy whenever you're in a position of leadership like that, to be doing messy ass shit. I mean, that's just my opinion. And then they go on to say, you have continued to talk about the organization online on social media. Now, mind you, again, you asked, okay, since you have such an interest in my social media, suddenly everybody just has to come look at my social media page. Mind you, I can see it. You can see when somebody looks at your LinkedIn or when somebody looks at your TikTok. I'm not a fucking idiot. Or you're not a fucking idiot. So suddenly the whole organization has such an interest in your social media after you have been, quote unquote, let go. Look at that. Covered up that darkness like a dream. So you're like, okay, what is the post? What was said? Now, mind you, you know for a fucking fact that you've never mentioned anybody's name. You have never mentioned an organization name. And actually, most people have no idea where you even work. That's how little you have mentioned the organization or the people who work there. So, you're like, okay, well, where's this alleged evidence that you have of me tarnishing the organization reputation? And of course they don't have anything to show you, because it's fucking bullshit, obviously. But because you're an at-will state, you can't really do anything about it. Now, you did talk to a lawyer, which is unfortunate because you really were going to take them to court. So after the fact, after you've been like, oh, suddenly everybody starts looking at your social media page, and you think basically they're trying to like build a case against you because they don't have anything actually, and they didn't think you would ask for like evidence or proof. You were just gonna like lay down and take it. But since you were told you can't really do anything legally, now you're like, oh, well, why don't I actually come on here and talk about the shit that had been going on there? Like, why don't you actually give them what they actually think you were doing? So you get on your YouTube channel knowing that they suddenly have such an interest in it. They're so interested in what you have to say suddenly. Even though I really doubt that they have this much interest in any of the other employees' social media channels. And also, they don't even have a social media policy, because you asked for that too. And you also asked for the disciplinary policies and the termination policies, to which you were ignored, because even though it is an at-will state, you know that they don't have a social media policy or evidence that they gave you a warning or took steps or whatever. So, you know, that is what it is. So you're like, well, since they are just looking at my page, they're so interested in it suddenly, well, now you're going to give them something that they can look at and run back and tell whoever about. So upon no longer being employed with this organization, you talk to other former employees of the organization, and found out that they kind of got like fucked over as well. Now mind you, this is not the first time you have been fucked over by this organization. Whenever you graduated with your master's, you were like, okay, I have a master's degree, doesn't that warrant more money? And they were like, no. So over the course of the 2 years that you were there, you got a whopping 34-cent raise with a master's degree. So $45,000 or whatever is allegedly the average salary, which is crazy because a report just came out that you need $64,000. You need to make $64,000 a year to be able to make rent in New Orleans. You weren't making anywhere close to that. You were actually making less than the average salary of $45,000. So they told you no on that. There was a point shortly after you had been hired where, because of like COVID or whatever, they were giving $2,000 bonuses to employees, and you were 1 week shy of being there, like your 6 months or whatever. So they actually skipped over you to get that bonus, even though you had been working the whole time, just like 1 week shy. Then another time, there was somebody above you who had left, and this person strategically like set things up so that whenever they left, you would take on certain things that they were doing, and you can add that on to like your reasoning as to why you should get a raise, because you were asking for a raise. You were actually in the process of asking for a raise when suddenly they have all this to say about you, and like all this looking at your social media and blah blah blah. So you're like, okay, well, I did this, this, and this. I took this on that I wasn't doing before, that this person was actually doing. And they tell you, oh, that's actually just part of your job description. So even though you took on more work, it still falls under your job description. So it doesn't count as you doing more work. It just counts as you doing your job. So then you start talking to people who have worked there previously. And somebody who was also in the same, I guess, like pay band as you, who had been working there for like years, suddenly out of nowhere was put on a PIP, which, if you're like me and you didn't know what that was, it's a professional improvement plan. Now mind you, if an organization puts you on a professional improvement plan, no warning, anything, they're actually just trying to get rid of you, but in a way that you'll leave first and they won't have to like give you XYZ. Not that they give you, well, I don't know, maybe they give some people severance, but they certainly didn't give you severance. So that's something that they do in order to make you like leave the organization. Did it out of nowhere, basically told them they were terrible at their job after not hearing anything about it for all the years that they had been working there, which is so crazy. Then you hear from somebody else that they have asked for a raise, but they're basically like in like raise limbo, because it's been processing, quote unquote, for months, but it still hasn't come through yet. Pretty much the same way as you were told that you couldn't get a raise at that point in time because of budgets and whatnot. So basically you'd have to wait like 6 months for budgets to whatever. So you do all this extra work take on all these extra tasks and you don't get paid, and potentially you could be told no, that you can't get a raise anyway, or they just fire you. So yeah, that. Then you find out that, like, there's somebody in the organization who is just weird. So you're basically told that you can't communicate with this person, and that all communications from here forward will have to go through somebody else. Now, mind you, this person's title is kind of a joke, because basically all day they do other work through their other job. They're doing work for their other job, because you don't even really be seeing what they be doing for this organization. And you also found out that whenever this person came to work there, people knew of them and didn't want to work with them. They were like, are you fucking serious? Why? Like, we don't want this person. But basically they were the lesser of two evils. So, ooh, eyebrows are kind of long. So this person has treated you weirdly, and also treated a former employee that no longer works there weirdly, and you know this because you're tight with this former employee. So then somebody new comes in. Kids get on my nerves. Somebody new comes in and they basically don't know anything, but I guess because, I don't know what the issue is, why they took such a liking to this person who didn't know anything and tried to come in and just boss everybody around. Never a moment of fucking peace and quiet. So they basically just let this person do whatever and like say whatever and don't say anything or whatever. So you basically have to just like stick up for yourself, because this person always trying to tell you what to do, when to do it, what to post, when to post it. And now that you no longer work there, well, I guess they can just do your job, since they were so like set on doing it in the first place. Which they're not going to give you any more money for that, even though you're doing extra work. They'll just find a way to say it fits into your job description. So you know that they have a history of being fucking weird, treating employees weirdly. Now mind you, they do have good benefits, and it is work from home for the most part. But if you're in a certain pay band, you really don't get paid that much of a livable wage. And I'm pretty sure I think I was the person who had been there the longest that was in my pay band. So I'm pretty sure next to the unpaid interns that I made the least at the organization. Oops, that you made the least at the organization, because this is just like hypothetically speaking. And what's crazy is you thought there were people there that like actually genuinely fucked with you, who did not reach out to you at all. Which, you know what, that's fine. I know that that's not my heart. I wouldn't do that to somebody I fucked with, because I'm a person over organization type of girl. Meaning that if an organization is saying that somebody is a disgruntled employee, I'm wondering why the fuck is the employee disgruntled? Because it didn't just come out of nowhere. There was some form of mistreatment at some point in time. So, and it's not even that you disliked everybody there. It's just like a handful of people who just made your life more difficult than necessary. Then the crazy part, well, I guess it's not really that crazy of a part, but it's just a little absurd to you, is that literally like 10 minutes after you have this call, like a couple of people that you fucked with from this job text you and are like, oh my god. So they immediately had the email locked and loaded to get sent out to the entire organization. Then, like, within an hour, somebody is at your door to pick up, and they listed everything off, like, I guess to make sure nothing got left behind, or like, or they thought I was gonna do something, or they thought you were gonna do something to that fucking shitty computer. Oh, a laptop, a mouse, a keyboard, a monitor, an iPhone, and an iPhone case. Yeah, I know what the fuck I have from this organization. Okay? And I could have mailed it in. They sent somebody to my house to get it. They sent somebody to your house to get it. Fucking insane. And HR never fucking responded with the stuff that you requested, and they're still looking at your social media, and when you block one of them, a different one comes and looks at your page, I guess to see if you're like saying anything. But as mentioned, you literally never mention this organization or a name. And you freelance. So you could literally be talking about anybody. But they made the assumption to let you go even after it took them months to fill your position to begin with. Good luck filling it again, to be honest, because who honestly wants to go do that? So even after you brought money into the organization, you got a grant. Just a lot of shit that you did in terms of the social media, in terms of bringing awareness to the organization, bringing awareness of the organization. Morale, because you're obviously the fucking personality of the organization. Hands down, one of the funniest, if not the funniest. And while you are positive that this is like the universe moving you on to a more positive, fulfilling, better paying Which, that's another thing, that is something else that you frequently talked about. Basically, how you don't make enough money, you don't feel like what you were making was a livable wage, and you really feel like that's what really has their, like, panties in a bunch. But I mean, maybe it's not former employees making the organization look bad. Maybe the organization is making the organization itself look bad because of the way that they act and treat certain employees. But you know, this is like putting you onto something better. You just don't know what it is yet. But you also know that you won't have to work with this particular brand of weirdo anymore. And since they're suddenly so invested in everything you have going on, they'll probably come and watch this too. Everyday makeup, it eats, it eats, it eats, it does. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, that's the hypothetical story of, like, you know, me just imagining working with people who do weird ass shit and who are like obsessed with you, watching your moves, and suddenly have like so much interest in what you have going on, but can't even provide to you things that you ask for, that allegedly, you know, whatever, as to why you were let go. But yeah, besties, that's my hypothetical story. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and if you're not supposed to be here, please get out of my life.